Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never access what's already inside them. There's a quiet force living beneath your habits, your excuses, your fear of judgment. It shows up in moments when you almost spoke up, almost tried, almost committed. This video is about that force. Not hype, not wishful thinking. Real inner power. The kind that changes how you decide, how you act, and how you live when no one is watching. Unleash the power within isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing what's been blocking you. The doubt you rehearsed too many times. The comfort that slowly made you smaller. The stories you accepted because they were familiar, not because they were true. If you've ever felt there's more in you than your current life shows, you're not wrong. You're underutilized. And that changes today. Inner power is not confidence you show on social media. It's not loud motivation or borrowed energy. Inner power is alignment. It's when your values, decisions, and actions point in the same direction. It's the ability to choose discipline over comfort, truth over approval, growth over familiarity. Everyone has it, but most people leak it daily, through distraction, self-doubt, and emotional reactions they never learned control. This video will show you how that happens, and more importantly, how to stop it. You'll understand why willpower fails, why motivation fades, and why real change starts deeper than habits. Inner power isn't about forcing yourself forward. It's about removing internal resistance, so forward becomes natural. In this journey, we'll break down 6 core shifts that unlock human potential. You'll learn how identity shapes behavior, why emotional mastery matters more than positive thinking, and how pain, when used correctly, becomes fuel instead of a prison. We'll talk about fear, not as an enemy, but as a signal. About discipline, not as punishment, but as freedom. About purpose, not as something you find, but something you build through action. Each section is designed to strip away illusions and replace them with clarity. This isn't about temporary motivation. It's about permanent internal change. This video asks one thing from you: presence, not agreement, not blind belief. Presence. If something challenges you, stay with it. If something feels uncomfortable, that's usually where growth lives. By the end of this journey, you won't just feel inspired. You'll see yourself differently. You'll understand why your past doesn't define you, why your current limits are negotiable, and why your future responds to the standards you set today. The power within you is real. It's been waiting for direction. Let's begin. You can't change what you refuse to see. Most people live on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing. They wake up, scroll, rush, complain, repeat. Years pass. Nothing fundamental changes. Not because they're incapable, but because they're unconscious of their patterns. Self-awareness is the first gate to inner power. Without it, motivation becomes noise and advice becomes entertainment. When you don't know why you act the way you do, your emotions run the show. You call it personality. You call it fate. In reality, it's unexamined conditioning. The moment you start observing yourself, your triggers, your excuses, your habits, you take the first real step toward power. Everything you do is driven by who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you'll find reasons to stop. If you see yourself as someone who grows, obstacles become instructions. Identity isn't discovered. It's reinforced daily. Most people let past failures define them, then wonder why they repeat the same outcomes. Inner power grows when you interrupt that loop. When you stop saying this is how I am and start asking, who am I becoming through this choice? The question alone shifts your behavior. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. Unleashing power doesn't mean eliminating emotion. It means mastering it. Most people either explode or suppress. Both are forms of weakness. Anger, fear, anxiety, these aren't flaws. They're signals. Fear points to growth. Anger highlights boundaries. Anxiety reveals misalignment. When you learn to pause instead of react, you gain leverage over your inner world. That pause is power. It's the space where choice replaces impulse. Emotional mastery isn't about being calm all the time. It's about being conscious enough to decide how you respond. Self-aware people don't wait to feel ready. They act intentionally despite discomfort. They understand that clarity follows action, not the other way around. When you stop reacting to life and start directing it, something changes internally. You feel grounded, less scattered, less desperate for approval. This is where inner power begins to solidify. Awareness leads to choice. Choice leads to standards. Standards shape destiny. The moment you stop drifting and start deciding, you're no longer living by accident. The strongest chains are invisible. They're built from beliefs you absorbed without questioning. I'm not good enough. This is just how life is. People like me don't win. These thoughts feel like facts because you repeated them for years. But beliefs are not truths. They are agreements. And most people made those agreements when they were too young, too afraid, or too inexperienced to know better. Inner power wakes up the moment you challenge the thought that has been quietly running your life, not with positive thinking, with honest inspection. Ask one question: is this absolutely true? Most beliefs collapse under scrutiny. Limiting beliefs survive because they feel safe. They protect you from embarrassment, rejection, and responsibility. But safety comes at a cost. Comfort shrinks your world slowly, so you don't notice the loss until years later. The mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. That's why people stay stuck even when they're unhappy. Inner power requires a different trade. Short-term discomfort for long-term freedom. The moment you choose growth over comfort, the belief loses its grip. Fear doesn't disappear. You just stop obeying it. Your mind is a storyteller. It narrates your life based on past evidence. If you want different outcomes, you need new evidence. That comes from action, not affirmations, not visualization alone. Action. Every time you do something difficult, something you previously avoided, you rewrite the story. The voice that says, "I can't," gets quieter when confronted with proof. Confidence is a byproduct of kept promises to yourself. Inner power grows when your actions contradict your doubts. The moment you accept full responsibility for your life, excuses lose their power. This isn't blame. It's ownership. Blame keeps you powerless. Ownership makes you dangerous in the best way. When you stop waiting for permission, validation, or perfect conditions, something unlocks. You move differently. You speak differently. You tolerate less from yourself. That's inner power taking shape. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when conditions are perfect and disappears when they matter most. Discipline is different. Discipline is self-respect in action. It's choosing what you said you wanted yesterday, even when today feels heavy. Most people misunderstand discipline because they see it as restriction. In reality, discipline creates freedom. It removes negotiation. When your standards are clear, decision-making becomes simple. Inner power grows when you stop debating with yourself and start executing. Not aggressively, consistently. Pain is unavoidable. Suffering is optional. The difference is interpretation. Most people run from discomfort, numbing it with distraction. But pain carries information. It reveals weakness, misalignment, and growth points. When you stop labeling pain as something wrong, you reclaim power over it. Training your body hurts. Training your mind hurts. Telling the truth hurts. But every form of growth has a cost. The question isn't whether you'll feel pain. It's whether you'll use it or waste it. Inner power isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in ordinary days handled well. Waking up when it's uncomfortable. Doing the work when no one is watching. Saying no when saying yes would be easier. These moments feel small, but they compound. Every disciplined action strengthens identity. You stop needing external validation because you trust yourself. That trust is rare and powerful. Most people never develop it because they abandon themselves too often. When discipline becomes part of who you are, life changes tone. Challenges no longer threaten your identity. They test your preparation. You become harder to break because you've practiced discomfort voluntarily. Inner power isn't loud at this stage. It's steady, calm, grounded. You don't rush. You don't panic. You move forward because that's who you've trained yourself to be. Purpose isn't hiding somewhere waiting to be discovered. It's built through engagement, through responsibility, through choosing to care about something beyond comfort. Most people wait to feel inspired before they commit. That's backward. Commitment creates meaning. When you take something seriously, your craft, your health, your word, life responds. Direction sharpens. Energy returns. Inner power grows when your actions serve something larger than your moods. Your life reflects the standards you tolerate, not what you want, not what you talk about, what you allow. Standards are invisible rules that govern behavior when motivation fades. Most people lower their standards to avoid discomfort, then wonder why they feel unfulfilled. Raising standards isn't about perfection. It's about integrity. Doing what you said you would do. Speaking truthfully. Walking away from what drains you. Inner power strengthens when your inner rules become non-negotiable. There's a cost of living out of alignment. It shows up as fatigue, frustration, and quiet resentment. When your words don't match your actions, you leak energy. When they align, energy multiplies. Congruence creates calm confidence. You stop performing. You stop explaining. You simply act. This is where inner power becomes visible, not through dominance, but through presence. People feel it without you saying a word. Before you lead others, you lead yourself. That leadership shows up in private choices, in restraint, in consistency, in humility. When you respect your own standards, you no longer chase approval. You choose impact instead. This is what it means to live from the inside out. External success becomes a reflection, not a pursuit. Inner power at this stage isn't about proving anything. It's about expressing who you become. By now, one thing should be clear. Inner power isn't something you wait for. It's something you decide into. Feelings fluctuate. Circumstances shift. But decisions create direction. Every meaningful change in your life started the moment you chose differently than before. Not dramatically. Deliberately. The power within you has always responded to one signal. Commitment. Not interest. Not intention. Commitment. When you decide that your standards matter more than your comfort, everything reorganizes around that choice. Excuses feel logical, but they cost you years. You don't need more time. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need permission. What you need is to stop negotiating with the part of you that wants to stay small. Growth begins when excuses end. That moment doesn't look impressive from the outside. It's quiet, internal, but it's irreversible. Once you see yourself clearly, you can't unseen it. Once you raise your standards, lowering them feels painful. That's inner power locking in. You are not your past patterns. You are not your worst decisions. You are the standards you choose today. From this point forward, every disciplined action, every honest conversation, every uncomfortable step builds a new identity. Stronger, calmer, more capable. Inner power doesn't shout. It shows up in how you carry yourself, how you respond under pressure, how you keep moving when no one is watching. This is who you're becoming. This video ends, but the work doesn't. Inner power is unleashed the moment you act on what you know. One decision, one promise kept, one standard raised today. Not tomorrow, today. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to honor the next right action. Do that consistently, and the power within you won't just awaken. It will lead. And once that happens, there's no going back.